More than 90 fires recorded nationwide in the first week of December.
Drawing lessons from Ebola, ECOWAS collaborates to respond to disasters.
And 20 dead in Kinshasa in the worst flooding in 18 years.
Good evening. Welcome to the studios of GBC24 and GTV. This is when we update you on events around our world. I'm Akushika Akwe.
And I'm Conrad Kakraba, and Robert Frimpong-Manso is doing the sign language translation.
More than 90 fire outbreaks have been recorded nationwide during this first week of December. And the Ghana National Fire Service says the outbreaks have been due to the current dry weather conditions.
The statistics is worrying and surprising, and the Deputy Public Relations Officer of the Ghana National Fire Service, Prince Billy Anaglate, has cautioned the public to turn off electrical appliances when not in use.
And we'll bring you that story later in the bulletin. Representatives of the regional bloc ECOWAS are discussing ways to collaborate and pool resources and expertise to effectively respond to disasters in West Africa. The Accra meeting comes months after the deadly Ebola virus swept through Liberia, Guinea and Sierra Leone, killing thousands of people and leaving many children orphaned.
That outbreak has been described as the most widespread epidemic of the Ebola virus disease in history, and the ECOWAS Commission Vice President told the delegates that the forum will help define long-term solutions to the disaster in the region.
Early this year, Ebola struck Guinea, Liberia and Sierra Leone and claimed about 10,000 lives. The disaster revealed the inadequacies of the healthcare systems and response mechanisms in West Africa, and also exposed the collective shortcomings of the sub-region to pursue preemptive actions against preventable catastrophes. To help adequately prepare the sub-region to handle disasters, ECOWAS member countries are meeting in Accra to take sound decisions which will help effectively handle disasters in the sub-region. Key among the areas are mobilization of resources to support national disaster management agencies across the sub-region. The Deputy Director of Program J5 of the U.S. Africa Command, Dr. Barbara Soterin, says the U.S. will continue to support Africa to build capacity in disaster preparedness and response. Interior Minister Mr. Mark Uyongo said coordinated efforts by member countries is the way to go.
The African continent has suffered various disasters, including floods, droughts, fires, ethnic conflicts in recent times. There is therefore the need to take a holistic view of disaster prevention, mitigation, timely and effective response and recovery through information sharing and pooling of human and material resources to achieve synergy.
ECOWAS Commission Vice President Dr. Toga Jeweya McIntosh was optimistic that the discussions will help the sub-region tackle disasters better.
It is my earnest belief that during the next 4 days, concerted dialogue among all stakeholders here will define long-term solutions for continuing enhancement of national and regional disaster preparedness and rapid response systems in our sub-region.
Prior to the Accra conference, 800 participants from 12 West and Central African countries were trained for 6 months in disaster management and response under the West Africa Disaster Preparedness Initiative. It was funded by the U.S. government.
Japan and Ghana have signed 2 grant agreements. The first is for a project to help fishermen at Sekondi. The second is a grant to reinforce power supply to Accra Central.
The 2 agreements in the energy and fishery sector are the 4th in the series of grant aids signed between the 2 countries. Apart from a number of ongoing projects and discussions between the 2 countries, 3 business investment forums have been held to promote businesses in Ghana and Japan. 4,357 million yen of the total amount of 6.5 million yen will go into improving power supply in Accra Central. The Japanese ambassador to Ghana, Kairo Yoshimuru, said whilst it is important to increase capacity of power generation, improving power distribution cannot be underestimated. The Minister for Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration, Madam Hannah Tete, said the grants will ensure socio-economic development and further improve bilateral relations between Japan and Ghana. 2,169 million yen of the grant assistance will go into funding a project to assist fishermen in Sekondi Takoradi. According to the Fisheries Minister, Madam Sherry Aite, the Sekondi project has suffered some setbacks. In the face of dwindling fish stock, the intervention will enhance livelihood.
Parliament on Tuesday continued with the debate on the 2016 budget. The debate largely centered on agriculture, health, defense, youth and sports. Some members of the minority were worried about the continuous decline in the agriculture sector. The activities of Fulani herdsmen and pollution of water bodies also came up for mention. And at an African Union summit recently in Equatorial Guinea, African leaders reaffirmed the intention to devote 10% of their national budgets to drive agricultural transformation in their countries. Additionally, the leaders committed to doubling agricultural productivity, halving post-harvest losses, increasing youth participation in agribusiness by 30% and reducing stunting to 10% across Africa. This explains the need to invest in agriculture and support smallholder farmers.
We should consider agriculture as the air we breathe, the water we drink, and the food we eat. Very important. But that underlines our well-being and everything. Mr. Speaker, for some years now, growth in this sector has been declining. Mr. Speaker, as a result of low budgetary allocation, Mr. Speaker, in the year 2009, for example, it was 3%, and then 2006, as we speak now, it is going to 1.1% budgetary allocation. 1.1%, such a negligible figure. Mr. Speaker, for me, I believe agriculture offers unique opportunities for all of us, especially the teeming unemployed youth of this country.
The department is enjoying the transformation with the increasing in the guinea fowl production with the training of 320 guinea fowl outgrower farmers.
Mr. Speaker, the health sector budget as a percentage of the total MDA budget for 2016 is 13.8%. Mr. Speaker, this is the lowest over the past 4 years. Mr. Speaker, in 2014, it was 19.8%. In 2015, it came down to 16.8%. In 2016, it is now 13.8%.
The threat facing this country are in the areas of armed robbery, tribal conflicts, the menace of Fulani herdsmen, chieftaincy conflicts, galamsey, that is illegal mining, land gas, political violence, intra or inter of the political parties. Mr. Speaker, lastly, the suspected infiltration of ISIS into the country. Mr. Speaker, these threats are prevalent in almost all the regions in this country. The nation requires the joint effort of the police and the military to deal with these threats.
As a medium to long-term solution, the government will have to increase the NHI levy by 1%.
The Ministry of Education has launched a school mapping portal as part of its secondary education improvement project in Accra. The school mapping portal is a smartphone and web-based platform that allows users to search and monitor activities and information on all secondary schools in the country. Currently, all 859 senior high schools in the country have been mapped.
Over the years, issues have been raised over the equal distribution of students into senior high school across the country. Whilst most students consistently choose some particular schools, other schools never get the required numbers for admission. Most students from the basic level rely on information from peers, parents and teachers on the schools to select. The school mapping portal will provide a platform to check all one needs to know about any senior high school in the country. The website will use GPS to identify and locate all SHS in the country. One can check any school's WASSCE pass rate, location, enrollment data, teacher to student ratio, among others.
The SEE plays part in the implementation of the government's community senior high school projects. And it does so by increasing access with equity and quality, and also, very, very importantly, improving management, research, monitoring, evaluation.
The Minister for Communications, Dr. Edward Omani-Boama, lauded the initiative and said the incorporation of ICT into the education sector is a key agenda of the government.
It will also link with the education management information system and also identify areas that need assistance in the construction and repair of schools for efficient resource allocation.
The development of the website is the first phase in the mapping process. Other phases include an upgrade to monitor projects in the schools and the collection of additional data.
The phase one, has all of this bits of the information we are sharing in terms of finding the schools, in terms of your distance to the schools, the subjects, implications, because sometimes you have people say, okay, I want to go to this school. You have to have the opportunity to possibly have some sense of how the school looks like in terms of facility.
The Ghana Education Improvement Project is to increase access to senior secondary education in underserved districts and improve quality in low-performing senior high schools in the country.
Mr. Kwesi and Mr. Arthur has predicted a one-off victory for the ruling NDC party in next year's presidential polls. Mr. Arthur was on Monday tapped by President John Mahama to ride the ticket with him in the upcoming polls.
He says, quote, "I must go into the 2016 elections with a running mate. I have had no difficulties settling on my hard-working vice president as my running mate for the second term. I am happy to nominate His Excellency Kwesi Bekwin and Mr. Arthur as my running mate for the 2016 presidential elections," unquote. Upon breaking the silence on who partners him into the big battle of 2016, the dust has settled on the political gymnastics over a running mate for President John Mahama, a decision the number one gentleman described as obvious.
I've watched and listened carefully to all the various things that have been said the last few weeks, and I'm surprised that people did not realize how closely we've worked together, and maybe because we don't express our differences outside, the differences are expressed internally, and so the president knows where I stand on issues. I know what he wants to achieve, and I'm able to support the work that he's done.
Vice President Mr. Arthur believes that competence, trust, and the infrastructural developments seen under their first tenure must have informed President Mahama's decision to maintain him.
I hope we'll continue in the same way, open-minded, in a way accessible to people who have ideas, to be able to pick on these, to be able to provide the best solution to all the problems that we faced, and committed myself to work with him even more closely than we have these last 3 years. And I hope that the Ghanaian people will recognize the work that we've done, and renew the mandate of President Mahama for another 4 years.
Clearly, President Mahama is careful not to change a winning team, not when the stakes are high and the grounds slippery for 2016. Nto Bibinimto, reporting for GBC24.
Let's take our earlier story now. More than 90 fire outbreaks have been recorded nationwide during this first week of December. And the Ghana National Fire Service says the outbreaks have been due to the current dry weather conditions.
For the Ghana National Fire Service, The already high number of fires on record this month is of concern. The Deputy Public Relations Officer of the Ghana National Fire Service, Mr. Billy Anaglate, said this is especially so because of the various sensitization programs for the public on how to prevent or manage fires. With more than 90 fire outbreaks on record nationwide from the beginning of December till date, the Ghana National Fire Service has organized a forum to again educate the public on effective fire safety measures and how to use fire extinguishers properly. Participants were taken through how to put out fires in the event of an outbreak. The Accra Regional Commander of the Fire Service, ACFO Ebenezer Simpson, said the forum was necessary since there is always an increase in fires during the Harmattan season. The Chief Fire Officer of the Ghana National Fire Service, Dr. Albert Brown-Gazy, said traffic congestion on the roads makes accessing affected buildings difficult. He recommended regular examination of electrical appliances and wiring in the homes and offices. The service is reminding all about the need to be alert during the Harmattan for a fire-free season.
It was a long 8 months for Ghanaians during the 2012 election petition hearing. The Supreme Court then delivered the verdict in just 4 minutes. Daily courtroom coverage for the Graphic Communications Group was by the 2013 GJA Journalist of the Year, Mabel Akubanase. Mabel has put together the 8-month proceedings in a book titled The Pink Sheets. The 10-chapter book, which was launched in Accra on Monday, takes us on Ghana's election petition journey.
For the entire 8-month duration of the 2012 landmark election petition hearing, the courtroom at the Supreme Court was packed daily. The battle for the presidency was taken to the Supreme Court on December 28, 2012, when Nana Akufo-Addo, his running mate Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, and the national chairman of the NPP, Mr. Jake Obechebilante, filed a petition on the grounds that there were widespread irregularities at some polling stations and were praying the court to annul these votes. Many got interested in Ghana's judicial process, and for this reason, words and phrases such as pink sheets, I put it to you, amicus curiae, contempt of court, found their way into the lingua of the man on the street. The journey ended on August 29, 2013, when the Supreme Court gave its final verdict. The 2013 GJA Journalist of the Year, Mabel Akubanase of the Daily Graphic, who covered the proceedings, has documented her 8-month coverage in her book, The Pink Sheets.
I think that was the first time in Ghana's history that a president was being challenged through the courts. And so after everything, I realized that it was important for me to put into a book so that for those who didn't have the opportunity to watch or read, to also have a feel of it. I would like to encourage my colleague journalists to, we've been writing every day. We write. But please, let's start writing books. We've gained so much experience. It's time we start writing.
Launching the book, a justice of the Supreme Court, Justice Joseph Akamba, commended the efforts of the author.
We have our political disagreements. Yes, sometimes we shout about these disagreements. Yes, sometimes we even threaten each other over them. In the end, we put our nation first. It is this quality which we demonstrated after the 2012 presidential election, when instead of going to war, we went to court to settle our disagreements over the election results. That singular step strengthened our democratic credentials and won us international respect in the community of nations. Permit me to congratulate Ms. Mabel Akubanase on authoring such a historic book. She has added a valuable document to the country's democratic history, which should help current and succeeding generations to have a greater understanding of our democratic journey.
Mr. Ken Ashigbe is the general manager of the Graphic Communications Group Limited.
For us at Graphic, this is a very important event. It is important in several ways. Our mandate is to hold leadership to account, as spelled in the Constitution, Chapter 12. Our role also is to ensure that we act as agents of development. A critical thing that currently in our country we face is the lack of the reading culture. And for the reading culture to thrive in any environment, it is important that the writing culture is also brought up.
The 10-chapter book is written in simple language and has relevant photographs and cartoons to add a bit of humor. The book also has the opinions and critique of the judgment as well as behind-the-scenes happenings. The first book was sold for 10,000 Ghana cedis.
Thank you very much. The government works on the power crisis. The First Lady, Mrs. Lordina Mahama, has commended owners of beauty parlors for bearing with the dire situation and with some employing solar to run their businesses. The private sector is sourcing alternative energy in the wake of shortages in hydro and thermal power generation. And the First Lady was speaking at the 12th graduation of the Greater Accra Hairdressers and Beauticians Association in Accra. Napoleon Atukito reports.
The story is told about a job applicant who was turned down, even though he was the most qualified for the job. Similar tales are of food vendors who failed to attract customers. The list is endless. These categories were rejected because they looked scruffy. Appearance has a correlation with value and counts even more where there is competition. Value addition to raw material of any kind attracts higher returns. The professionals whose tendering complement knowledge as value addition to humans are hairdressers and beauticians. The professionals, however, acknowledge that they can only meet the expectations if they acquire the requisite skills through training, the basis of which is the systematic training of hairdressers and beauticians, with the 12th graduation of practitioners in Greater Accra as the latest. One graduating student sought to dispel the stereotyped notion about hairdressing as a safety valve for school dropouts.
It takes much knowledge before you can mold or create a star to seal somebody's face. What of other services, such as manicure and pedicure, braiding, bridal care, and others that cannot be mentioned? It all needs much knowledge.
The First Lady, Mrs. Lordina Mahama, extended a hand of support to the beauticians.
It is my honor and pleasure to present to GABA 30 sanding hair dryers, 10 hand dryers, 30 sanding hair dryers, 10 hand dryers, tonguing instruments, 10 roller trolleys, 10 foot massage equipment, and 20 sterilizing boxes for barbers. My sisters and friends, hold true to yourself. Remember to hold on to your work ethics, and most importantly, your humanity. It is these qualities that will guide you further on your journey.
A former Minister of State, Ms. Joyce Ayi, advised hairdressers to be neat, humble, and respectful. The Minister of Employment and Labour Relations, Mr. Haruna Idrisu, said the government will from next year inject an additional 10 million Ghana cedis into the Youth Employment Support Fund, $124 million to support technical and vocational education and employ at least 100,000 youth under the Youth Employment Program. In Awas, the Taifa Zone came tops. The First Lady pledged to set up the Best Individual Award winner, Philomena Tojuro, up into the world of business. Napoleon Atukito reporting.
We'll be back with business news.
Hello again, my name is Maurice Ogbete. In business tonight, talks have taken place in Accra between a visiting Indian delegation and Vice President Kwesi Mr. Arthur. These latest talks follow effort by the Mahama administration to woo investors into the country. The talks at the Flagstaff House provided the opportunity for Mr. and Mr. Arthur to point in the direction of the country's manufacturing and energy sectors where opportunities abound to create jobs and make life better for Ghanaians.
The Confederation of Indian Industry, CII, is an association of Indian businesses which works to create an environment conducive to the growth of industry in that country. Founded in 1895, the over 8,000-member non-governmental industry-led organization is proactive in securing business interests for its members across the globe. A number of these Indian businessmen are following up to Vice President Mr. Arthur's visit to Delhi recently to prospect for opportunities. The Indian High Commissioner in Ghana, Mr. Jiva Saga, described Ghana as the most preferred investment destination on the continent.
You are seen as a country with great democratic depth, great institutional strength, peace and stability, security. It's a country with tremendous resources, has great potential to grow.
Offering the investors a bird's eye view of Ghana's business climate, Mr. Arthur said government was open to more public-private partnerships in creating a manufacturing-led economy.
We have shown an interest in developing relations to lead to investments in agriculture, in processing, on-farm processing, in transportation, in renewable energy, and in basic technology that solves problems.
The Indian investors are drawn from agribusiness, manufacturing, energy, engineering, and more. GBC24, Flagstaff House.
Meanwhile, Minister for Trade and Industry, Dr. Ekospio Gabra, says the government will work with the Indian investors to direct their investment into strategic sectors of the economy for the benefits of the two countries.
The Confederation of Indian Industry, CII, has about 8,000 direct members, including SMEs, and an indirect membership of over 200,000 enterprises from around 240 national and regional sectorial industry bodies. The group is in Ghana now exploring the business and investment opportunities in all sectors of the Ghanaian economy. The India-Ghana Investment and Business Conference is also envisaged to serve as a launching pad for joint ventures and business partnerships and a fertile ground for information exchange on funding programs. The leader of the delegation and director for Pan-African E-Network Project Telecommunications Consultants in India, Hemant Kumar Mahe, said the group is bent on forming partnerships with their Ghanaian counterparts.
Our finding indicates that India and Ghana could strengthen their bilateral economic cooperation, especially in the three main areas. They are infrastructure development. Indian companies could take advantage of the US $1.5 billion opportunity that the infrastructure sector presents in Ghana, especially in the basic infrastructure such as railways, airways and ports through the public-private partnership route.
The Indian High Commissioner to Ghana, Mr. Jiva Saga, said India is committed to partner with Ghana for economic growth.
Is it simply a goodwill that we have come here, brought CII delegation? Not really. We know very well, and CII members know very well, that they would not come here unless it is their money's worth. We are doing business here. And when I say that, they are fully aware of the strengths and dynamism of this economy. Ghana is a very, very important country, not just in West Africa, but in entire Africa, for various reasons.
The Minister for Trade and Industry, Ekospio Gabra, urged the Ghanaian business community to take advantage of the conference to form joint ventures with their Indian counterparts to exploit the yet-to-be-tapped resources of the country.
We now must run much, much faster with the partnership and friendship of countries such as India to make up for the many years in which we've been in the industrial wilderness. Ghana, of all the countries in sub-Saharan Africa, barring maybe South Africa, is the country that has the greatest potential for industrialization for a number of factors, some of which the High Commissioner cited, and then in fact some of the Indian companies themselves have cited based on what they believe to be the opportunities for partnerships and investments in this country.
The overriding aim of the two-day conference is to get the Ghanaian investor community to form partnerships with their Indian counterparts to invest and lift hundreds of thousands of Ghanaian youth out of the unemployment bracket.
And still in business, the president of the Ghana Union of Traders Association, GUTA, Mr. George Ofori, says the hiking utility tariffs announced on Monday will worsen the plight of small-scale enterprises which are already under pressure due to macroeconomic challenges and the load-shedding exercise. He added the move will work to the detriment of the country's Made in Ghana campaign.
This is a serious surprise, or as a Christmas surprise to all Ghanaians, and not GUTA alone, and not any institution, but to all Ghanaians. But the issue has to do with President, about 2 weeks exactly today, launched the Made in Ghana products campaign. And if we are talking about Made in Ghana products, automatically the factories who are going to produce needs supplies like energy and water. And so with the increment, how do you expect the factories or the manufacturing firms to operate to the satisfaction of Ghanaians? Already we are complaining that the cost of the production cost of our manufacturing firms are very high due to some of these things. And if we keep on increasing, the other side of the coin is that you are directly or indirectly asking foreign investors not to come, because nobody will come into a system where the facility is not there. But meanwhile, you are asked to pay more. You pay something on what is there. You don't pay something that is not there. In our situation, we are not getting the energy, but we are being asked to pay more for it. I mean, it doesn't make any for you and I. And the repercussions are said that water and energy is something that you cannot say that you will not need in your life. You will need it at all costs.
And that was business brought to you by EcoBank, Airtel, and Hisense. The news continues.
Now some health news brought to you by FPAC. FPAC blows your pain away. An infectious diseases treatment center has been inaugurated at the Kumasi South Hospital at Atonso Agogo. The facility was jointly funded by the government and Cosmos Energy at a cost of $32,000.
The Kumasi South Hospital was upgraded as a regional hospital to help provide adequate health care for the people and also to reduce the congestion at the Komfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital. The Infectious Diseases Treatment Center at the hospital will diagnose and treat diseases such as Ebola, cholera, tuberculosis and influenza. The Deputy Regional Director of Health in charge of clinical care, Dr. Adomako Boating, appealed to government to provide funds for the completion of an abandoned 3-story complex at the hospital. Dr. Adomako Boating gave the assurance that the facility will be maintained. The Vice President and Country Manager of Cosmos Ghana, Mr. Joe Mensah, said the inauguration of the facility was timely.
During the Ebola epidemic, Cosmos Energy raised its hand to commit to provide these type of facilities across the country. While Cosmos business is in exploration and production, it still really feels very deeply indebted to the environment where we work, and hence it stretches its arm to really provide for the community where it does business.
The Ashanti Regional Minister, Mr. Peter Nefi Mensah, said the fact that Ghana has not yet recorded any case of Ebola should not make the country complacent.
Whilst it is heartwarming to be saved from the scourge of the disease, it is equally important that we continue to scale up monitoring and surveillance to ensure that the disease does not penetrate the borders of this country. It is also significant that we all help to put the necessary arrangements in place so that in the unlikely event that we experience a case, we can effectively deal with the situation.
The Asankregua Nursing and Midwifery Training College is making modest strides to expand its infrastructure. Currently, the school, through its internally generated fund, is undertaking some projects expected to be ready next year.
The Asankregua Nursing and Midwifery Training College started on the 30th of January 2009 by the Ministry of Health with the support of the chiefs and elders of Asankregua Divisional Area to run certificate health assistant clinical programs, now nursing assistant clinical programs. So far, it has trained 835 qualified nurse assistants. From an initial 70 trainee nurses, the school has 568 students today. It is therefore undertaking projects such as the construction of a female hostel from its internally generated funds and working to procure a bus while extending its power plant to other areas of the school. The Ministry of Health is also constructing an ultramodern administration block for the school. Currently, the Nurses and Midwives Council, the Ministry of Health and its agencies has given the college approval to start a registered general nursing and a registered midwifery diploma program. The principal of the college, Mrs. Jemima Akon, is encouraging all students, especially those in health institutions, to be disciplined, study hard to support the delivery of quality health care when they complete their studies.
The health segment brought to you by FPAC. FPAC blows your pain away.
In other news, an estimated 20 people have died in floods in the Democratic Republic of Congo's capital, Kinshasa, over the last 10 days. A resident said it was the worst flooding he had seen in 18 years. A tributary to the Congo River overflowed after heavy rain on Sunday night, causing extensive damage. A UN-backed radio station said a water treatment plant was affected, cutting off most residents' drinking water. The provincial director of Regideso, the firm responsible for water distribution in DR Congo, told reporters it could take 2 to 3 days to fix the facility. Boko Haram gunmen have torched almost an entire village near the northeastern Nigerian town of Chibok, from where over 200 schoolgirls were kidnapped. The raid saw the Islamists loot food supplies 2 days after fighters stole more than 200 cattle from the same location. Recent months have seen a reduction in such hit-and-run raids in rural northeast Nigeria, in an indication the rebels' ability to strike has been reduced by an army counter-offensive. But sporadic raids still occur, and there is concern about an increase in suicide and bomb attacks in urban centers. A group of insurgents on bicycles and on foot invaded the farming and herding community, shooting indiscriminately and setting fire to homes.
Active with sports, I'm Theophilus Sampa. This is in partnership with Tobinco Pharmaceuticals Limited, producers of Lunat. The first grand finale of the FIBA-sanctioned 3x3 World Basketball Tour Africa Challenge is on. 16 teams will compete for the ultimate ticket to represent Ghana in the FIBA 3x3 World Tour Africa Challenge next year. The event takes place on December 19.
The 16 best 3x3 basketball teams in the country will battle for one crown at the Lincoln Community School in Accra on the 19th of December. The 16 teams, namely the Miners, Novice Tornadoes, 236, Dream Team, the Hoop Snipers, Vipers, Silver and City Hoops. The rest are Dollar Bills, Wake Up, Bevu Nation, Team New, Black Hoops, LA Ballers, Assassinators and Wizards. They will battle to secure qualification to next year's FIBA 3x3 World Tour Africa Challenge in 2016. Some drills to be competed in include water park three-pointer shootout and the slam dunk, among others. Aside the ticket, the winning team takes home 1,000 Ghana cedis, medals and other merchandise prizes. All players who play in the tour will be ranked in Ghana and across the world, and also will be licensed by FIBA as official 3x3 players. Currently, there are about 140 players licensed by FIBA 3x3. The current number 1 ranked FIBA 3x3 player in Ghana at the moment is Ebenezer Kwesi Abuachi, who will be featuring at the event. The head coach of 2nd D Hazakes Football Club, Yusuf Bazigi, says his target for the new Premier League season is a top 4 finish. Coach Bazigi guided 2nd D Beige side to a 7th place finish at the 2014-2015 league season.
You know, management have not set targets for me, and I will not set target for myself, but I know for sure that I'll be among the top 4. Yeah, for sure. I have my materials already. Only one player left to Kotoko. The rest are still intact, so I wouldn't have much work to do. Unlike other clubs where they have brought more players on board, you need to let them understand your philosophy. Then also, adjust to your philosophy and then work with. But for me, they know my philosophy already, so I wouldn't have much of a problem at all.
The NBA regular season is already off to a flying start with loads of action, with some teams already building game-winning streaks and others yet to find their footing. Here are some highlights of our top 10 play of the week.
Welcome to the entertainment and art segment of the news. My name is Micheline Taka. Ghanaian reggae artist Rocky Dawuni has made a history. The body of Ghana's foremost dance choreographer, Professor Francis Niyate, who died on the 21st of November this year, has arrived in the country. The late professor's body was received by family and close friends at the airport. Professor Yate was performing with a group of dancers in India when he took ill and died shortly afterwards. Before his demise, he was the head of the dance department at the School of Performing Arts of the University of Ghana. The final funeral rites will take place in January 2016. Ghanaian reggae artist Rocky Dawuni, I beg your pardon. The body of Ghana's Moving on, Kim Kardashian and Kanye West have finally revealed the names of their baby boy. The couple named their second child Saint West. Reality TV star Kim Kardashian confirmed the name on her website after announcing that he had been born. There were more than a few critics when they named their first child Northwest. Again, Kim and Kanye have come out with another mind-blowing name for their baby boy, which is Saint West. And that's all on the entertainment and art segment.
With technical support from the Ghana Meteorological Agency.
Welcome to the Winco Weather Report Center on Ghana Television. I am Eunice Kweku Tony. 24 hours ago, Ghana experienced dry and hazy conditions over northern Ghana. As a result of this, flights were cancelled. From now till tomorrow morning, we are still likely to experience dry and hazy conditions now across the entire country with impaired visibility. For temperatures, we are forecasting a range between 21 and 25 degrees Celsius to run through the entire country. In the afternoon, partly cloudy conditions are likely to be experienced, but still the haze is still going to be in the atmosphere. This time around, temperatures are going to rise to a range between 32 and 37 degrees Celsius across the entire country. The 48-hour forecast is coming up shortly. Do stay tuned to GTV. Thank you very much for joining me. Do enjoy the rest of our interesting lineup for you.
It's time now to part company, but not before leaving you with the main news in brief. More than 90 fire outbreaks have been recorded nationwide in this first week of December. The Ghana National Fire Service says the outbreaks have been due to the current dry weather conditions.
Representatives of the regional bloc ECOWAS are discussing ways to collaborate and pool resources and expertise to effectively respond to disasters in West Africa. This is in the wake of the recent Ebola outbreak in parts of the sub-region.
And an estimated 20 people have died in floods in the Democratic Republic of Congo's capital, Kinshasa, over the last 10 days. This is said to be the worst flooding in 2 decades. We do appreciate your keeping company with us.
Have a good evening.